Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now discuss the 4 kinds of teachers. Traditionally speaking, 4 different kinds of teachers exist in metaphysics. For practical purposes, we will ally this with an elemental basis. So, in Barden's Kabbalah, we of course have the 4 elements: fire, air, water, and earth. Fire-type teachers are your classical samahati or single-point focus teachers. When people meet their teacher of this kind, frequently stories like, "The first time I met my teacher, he threw a knife at my head," are the kinds of things they talk about. These are typically men of intense focus, and the simple fact of the matter is they tend to teach few, as teaching is a distraction from what they are attempting to do. They can be rather harsh, but honestly, I have learned some of my most important life lessons from teachers of this kind, because it is this kind of focus that allows us to do what it is we are meant to do. Focus has put man on the moon, created steel, invented antibiotics, and accomplished just about everything else in the phenomenal world that is worth having. As such, it is often ignored by many yogic and meditative practitioners. Teachers of this kind can be difficult, but frequently they offer some of the most valuable lessons and insights available. Next, you have air-type teachers. These are the intellectuals. These are the engineers. These are people who have an innate need to understand what they're doing. So unlike a fire-type teacher who will simply bore a hole through reality, an air-type teacher tends to employ a lot of methodology in an attempt to understand what they're dealing with. They like to break things down into steps. They like to have a series of concrete actions in order to accomplish things. So that is more typical of an air-type teacher. If they are especially good at what they do and they have very focused pedagogy, you can learn very quickly from an individual like this. But it is not something that natural ability is going to help you much with. You have to follow the steps, and as such, this can be one of the slowest paths of learning. Now we have our water-type teachers. These are the classic love guru type people. These are normally the kinds of people that most people who are not terribly familiar with yogic and meditative endeavors associate with a teacher of meditation. They typically teach in large groups. They're all about your feelings and emotion and sensation. But there's a catch. These are also by far the most manipulative of all the teachers. See, generally, these people work by transmission. The issue with working by transmission is that first they have to open you up. So not only are they transmitting the teaching that they wish you to have, they're also transmitting what they want you to be. This is also the reason why almost all cult leaders are essentially water path type teachers. And this is something you have to keep a very careful eye on. Learning by transmission is one of the primary ways by which people learn these things. But you'll notice many people who exclusively learn this way end up picking up the characteristics of the teacher that they learned from. This is not an accident and something that needs to be kept in mind. Finally, we have our earth-type teachers. These are people who simply wish to sit in silence. When a student meets a teacher of this kind, they may meet them in a cave or in a remote temple, and the sum total of their teachings may include simply sitting in silence observing thoughts, observing reality, watching the rise and fall of materiality and energy. This is what these people do, and they're very insightful. Their thought process is often slow, and they frequently don't like talking. Now, this is not the avoidance of communication that samahati teachers have because they find communication annoying. With earth-type teachers, they simply are completely enraptured in what they are observing. So they sit in silence and wait for reality to unfold. Now keep in mind, these are all extremes. And quite frankly, I've never met anybody who fell exclusively into one camp or the other. Also keep in mind that some people are not capable from learning from every kind of teacher. Or learning from that kind of teacher is an excessively high burden for them. So none of this is good and none of this is bad, but it does represent the 4 fundamental archetypes I've seen in teaching over the years. Be well.